Welcome. It's time to start the box medal ceremony. As you all know, the box medal is awarded to a statistician who has provided, given with his or her work, an outstanding contribution to applied statistics. And the nomination committee this year, who was chaired by our president-elect, Murat Kanartestik, after having examined a lot of candidates, has decided to award the medal, the box medal, to Ron Kenett. So Ron is president of the KPA Group, which is an analytics consultancy firm. He's a senior research fellow at the Samuel Neiman Institute for Policy Research, Technion, Haifa, Israel. He's visiting professor at the Hebrew University Institute for Drug Research and also at the Faculty of Economics in Ljubljana, Slovenia. He's past president of the Israel Statistical Association and is a past president of ENBIS as well. So going to quantitative data, he wrote more than 250 articles and 40 books on subjects of industrial statistics, 14, I'm sorry. Oops. It looked like a large number, in fact. I didn't know. I thought 14 is a more manageable number. So, on industrial statistics, multivariate quality control, customer surveys, system and software testing, statistical methods in healthcare and risk management. So what is Ron's contribution? So it's difficult because it's very diversified. So what I can say is that his outstanding contribution to statistics lies in the integration of statistical methods into the previously mentioned field in the framework of a more general and structured approach to problem solving. So in fact, he's a winner of the 2013 Greenfield Medal of the Royal Statistical Society. And he worked on multiple fronts to teach practitioners and managers on how to effectively apply statistics and leverage data. His latest effort, in fact, forthcoming, I think, is a book which aims at helping decision makers to leverage data science. As a personal remark, I can say that having talked to him a few times, his mind is always at work. So so when you talk to him, you can expect always to be intellectually challenged on some statistical subject. So it is a pleasure for me to present this award to Ron. Please give him a round of applause.
So I'm the last speaker, and we have a bus waiting, so I guess my, my limit is the bus. Anne, je veux commencer par te remercier pour cette conférence qui est vraiment incroyable.
I'm not alone at all.
I know. So, a few years ago, with another Anne, where's the other Anne? Here's the other Anne. We were interested at the beginning of ENBIS to get French statisticians involved in ENBIS. And in 2001, we had someone. That's what you're doing. I did not do that. we had one presenter. Then Philippe Castigliola showed up, and you see the number of contributions until 2007, and then Olivier Roustan came, and he actually came to ENBIS the INDE, the spring meeting, and he brought in all his. So from 2001 and 2007, we had very few contributions. How many people here are French statisticians or study in French universities? You see, that's a result of what we were talking about, and I'm really glad that we have this conference here. Olivier also organized a spring meeting on design analysis of computer experiments, and there was a special issue that Sonia and David Steinberg put together. Yes, thank you. This was 2009. And in 2014, with Jean-Michel, we organized another spring meeting on graphical causality models and Bayesian networks and big data. And this was organized in a fantastic place in the center of Paris, near the Pantheon, where everybody is buried. The Institut Henri Poincaré, so it's really fitting that we have this conference in Nantes, okay? And I really want to thank also Jean-Michel, who has done so much for statistics and ENBIS, and I think he deserves a round of applause from all of you. So here I am. I'm talking about some ideas because of the Box medal, but someone said, congratulations on winning the Box plot. So this is not the Box plot, but it's related to Box, a different Box. So I thought I would give you two aspects of my involvement. One, a more methodological one, and the other one, a more personal one. The methodological one I called statistics and data science a love-hate relationship. So why is it a love-hate relationship? Data science is catching interest. I mean, you know about it. Nobody now has to publicize it. Data science is, and whether it's a fad or not, we can't tell. What seems to happen is that there are very few universities these days or colleges that don't have a data science program. So it seems like and if you had said that about Six Sigma, it wouldn't be true, because there were very few who had Six Sigma programs, but data science programs everybody has. So whether it's a fad, maybe yes, maybe not, we can't tell. But I think it's more fundamental than the previous fads that we've experienced. In fact, there's a big demand for data scientists. And data scientists are not what people in California call statisticians, that Emil was telling me. And they are listed as disruptors. So there's also some expectation about data scientists that is not shared by statisticians. Statisticians, yeah, we can find statisticians. You see the number of posts, in other words, job openings for statisticians, it's smaller than data scientists. They are on the escalator, so they help the company. But the data scientists, there are more posts for that, and they are basically coming with an expectation to impact the business, and that I think makes a difference. And A lot of times statisticians are there because of regulatory requirements. You know, the FDA or the FCC or some F is asking for some work that statisticians can do. Data scientists are hired to impact the business. They don't have a job because of some regulation. So who are these data scientists? By the way, the lists on the left and the right are identical, so don't try to look for a difference. So these are people with mathematical and statistics background. They are also knowledgeable in programming. They know about databases. They have domain knowledge, soft skills. Okay, so maybe it's related to the list of what in engineering statistics was presented a couple of sessions ago. And also communication, basically Superman and Superwoman, okay? And it's really all of these things. And some companies have, because they cannot find these people, they've broken it up. Okay, if it's someone who can do programming, you know, Python or R, we'll call him a data scientist. So these people, there's interest in hiring these people. There are not too many people who have all these credentials, and now we have this mushrooming industry of data science programs which are supposed to feed the demand for these people. By the way, with Shirley Coleman, we reviewed 14 data science programs, mostly in Europe, trying to see if these things are actually covered in the data science program. Some are, some are not. And in many cases, these data science programs are kilts made of existing programs that are put together. So they don't create this added value that is expected from this new evolving field. And statisticians, which look at the data scientists, in many cases, are very suspicious. Who is this strange person? Okay, he looks the same, right? But he has a different badge. Is there a difference? Actually, it's more serious than that, because there are lots of data science programs which don't involve statisticians at all. You see universities which have a committee that is designing, working on a data science program. They have a statistics department, but no one from that department is in that committee. So it is a threat. Because if this data science program starts pooling students who could have gone to statistics, this is called competition. So it is competition. And quietly, not publicly, but statisticians in some cases will say, oh, maybe someone is stealing our business. So is there a changing of the guard? That's the thought that I would like to bring out. And my answer, this is the changing of the guard, right? So my answer is no. This should not be considered the changing of the guard. However, change is needed. You know, we are experiencing new things, and somehow this should affect what is done in the statistics domain. And it's not on the idea of turning numbers into insights. Wow, this is, your computer is very fast because mine is slower. First of all, the distinction of between data and numbers. Okay, a lot of people talk about data. Some people even talk about information, but they really mean numbers. We have a lot of information. We have a lot of data. What they really mean is we have a lot of numbers. Once you've done the problem elicitation, you've talked to people, the data has some context, the numbers have some context, then they become data. Okay, so there is a layer that is added to these numbers. Okay, and then we're doing whatever we do, and we have to get back to the customer and produce something that he considers as useful. And it could be called information, it could be called knowledge, it could be called insights. And my proposal for what it is that we are doing, we statisticians, is to answer this very complex question. Okay, we are generating information. Can we provide some methods, some methodology, some tools to ensure that the quality of the information is high? So I think our business, our future business is in information quality. And that's one of the areas I've been working on. It started with Galit Shmueli, but I have several papers. One is with Marco, who is sitting here. So when people asked me what it is that you do, that was my elevator pitch. Okay, what it is that you do, I'm working on solving problems, real-world problems. Okay. How do you do that? With mathematical tools and statistical thinking. Okay. This was my answer for many years. And now I switched it. I'm working on information quality. And if we talk about statistics, which started with a scientific application and moved to industry, businesses, and services, what we've seen is this gap between theory and application. And you know, Technometrics is a really great journal. Do you know what the impact factor of Technometrics is? Yes.
Where do you see the future on the right or on the
No, there's more to it, so hold on. That means that not many people actually read it. You know, that's you know, we are statisticians. That's what this data means, right? The annals of statistics, it's even worse. So we have this challenge. We have theory, we have applications, and we have a gap. And closing the gap is I think, part of the challenge that ENBIS has taken on. You know, that's why these conferences, we look carefully if there is a good mix of people from industry, services, and academia. The mix, we want the mix. Recently, there's been some new initiatives. The recent one is of Facebook, and there is a model for industry-academic partnership that Gary King from Harvard has sort of organized. There is a link to a paper. So we're talking about behavioral big data. It's not the data from NASA or from testing the F-35. It's behavioral big data. And Facebook is trying to meet up to some kind of expectation that is to help research being pushed ahead so that we understand some basic things and it's not just manipulation or fake news. So, that's again you. So maybe I'll stand here. Ah, je bouge trop. Ok, alors je me mets ici, je bouge pas. Ok, merci. Okay, so I think we are entering this new age, and there is all this data that comes up, and it comes up in big numbers. Okay, that does have an effect. I'm going to some conferences of people from marketing, for example, and they analyze this data with logistic regression. You know, what affects the repurchasing intention, whatever. And they have 25 variables listed, and they are testing for the significance, and all these variables have 3 stars, and they've had, you know, they were looking at 3 million data points. Okay, so something must happen here. You know, the statistics support that they are assuming is probably misplaced. So one of the people who is moving along the stage very aggressively is Stu Hunter, and Stu Hunter has this show where he moves back and forth saying, "I'm a statistician." So here he is, "I'm a statistician." So in taking on this challenge, a picture that I found, which you might find interesting, is, no, that went too fast, is this one here, okay? So when you say, "I'm a statistician," who are you? Are you here or here? And that makes a big difference in terms of what it is that we should be doing. I think there are many statisticians who are happy by filling in this job, and this job in many cases is gatekeeping and is sort of cleaning up, you know, some aspects so that you don't make claims that cannot be justified and would not stand any appearance in court, and someone would say, you know, how can you say that? You know, you don't have the data for it, or things like that. But oh, it changed. But this role is different. It assumes that you have a different ambition, right? And in trying to figure out what would this ambition consist of, consider these 3 planets. You know, where is our playground? Okay, we have the need of customers. Okay, that's where we have to do the problem elicitation and talk to the managers and talk to the engineers and talk to the biologists. They have the need. We have the need to help them, but we should be good at communicating with them. We have to learn their language. They are not going to learn our language. Then we have to be knowledgeable in the theory. Okay, so we have to read technometrics or JQT or quality engineering so that we know what are the theories that are being developed. And thirdly, and this was mentioned in one of the talks, I think Marco was stressing that if we don't deliver in a way that the user, the customer can do something with what we are presenting, it's not going to be useful. And Christian was the first one many years ago to say, if you present a theory without producing some code to implement it, you have not delivered. Yes? You remember this? Okay, so these are the 3 elements that are of our concern. Okay, if you want to lead this effort, you should be concerned by these 3 aspects. So the need, okay, the need is in different aspects. This is a representation of a factory. We're talking about Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 meaning we are in the 4th industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution was in England, and when we had ENBIS in Sheffield, we could visit the place where this happened. So we are in Nantes, and we are talking about in Nancy, and we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution. So we have now lots of computers around, data collected everywhere, and the issues, the need comes from the need for productivity, for planning and simulation. We call it the twin. Okay, so we have the physical factory, and we have the twin factory where we can do computer experiments to optimize things. So it also has to do with maintenance. We're talking about condition-based maintenance. And all these topics that come from the needs derived from this fourth industrial revolution present a lot of opportunities for statisticians. In the paper listed here, we are listing 9 areas which open up new questions that statistics needs to answer. Cybersecurity is one of them. The theory, so we hear a lot of theory in this conference. We had very nice talks on various aspects. We're talking about machine learning. We're talking about Bayesian networks. So there are lots of models, and there's a lot of theory around. The delivery is coming from suppliers of software that really makes these different models something that can produce results. So the MES, the ERP, the data historians, the LIMS that collect the data from the lab, okay, all these are part of the delivery, and statisticians should know about this infrastructure, because that's how their contribution shows up. About 6 years ago, we developed this SPC Live system, which collects data from coordinate measurement machines in subcontractors of metalwork that produce parts that are integrated by the digital press division of HP. And because of the very high precision that is required, they cannot rely on the usual quality approach where the subcontractor signs a certificate of compliance or a certificate of testing, and that's how he fulfills his requirements. We meaning HP, we want to see what's going on in process when he is actually manufacturing the part. And because we're doing this in a web application, it's really very easy to implement that. So these subcontractors, there are now 40 such subcontractors. They don't need their IT department to be involved in this. We pull the data from the Zeiss CMM automatically, and the IT people are not involved. So in what we've been doing is try to also improve the delivery platform. That's the reason I'm bringing this up, and that's part of the job of a statistician, quote unquote, to actually ensure that statistical process control is used in a constructive way. And the control charts are really a very minor part of the story. If you really want this to work, you need to link it to work orders. You need to have the critical parts that are identified by engineering. There's a whole layer that is not in the books by Montgomery. And that's how the information is generated. So I talked about information quality, and I mentioned also the work with Galit. We worked on this very basic question. Okay, we have the data, we've done some analysis, it's producing some information. How can we ensure the quality of that information? And in translating the domain space to the analytic space, to answer this question, we must be very clear about the goals. And here, the issue of goals comes up, and that's why I've been asking some of the speakers, what's the goal of your analysis? Because if we don't understand the goal, we cannot really say anything about the quality of the information that is produced. The keynote this morning, that's why I asked him the question. So, given that, we also want to make sure we're not talking about the analysis quality, which is the Fisher information matrix. That's not what we are talking about, or the data quality. That's another aspect. We're talking about information quality, and that puts the goal into perspective. That's how we structured that. The information quality is the utility of applying a method F to a certain data X condition on the goals. And these are the 4 components. We did something that David Hand called deconstruction and listed 8 dimensions. One of them is data resolution, and it ends up with communication. And the nice thing is that now when someone presents a study, like the studies that we've been hearing about, we have some kind of template to assess it. And the simplest is a sort of 1 to 5 template, which would give you an InfoQ score. Obviously, this can be extended. And this has 8 elements. The number 8 is going to reoccur. So here are opportunities for research. Okay, so if you want to take the role that I was describing, and you buy this idea that information quality is of importance, that's the selling point that statisticians can provide. Okay, so each of these dimensions is an opportunity for research. So data resolution is one of them. Data structure is another. When you start thinking about data structure, we have a certain type of data that with the group in Girona I've been lucky to meet and collaborate with. We've been working on its data, for example, on mixtures like Bart presented an hour ago. Okay, so all these elements in your vector are non-negative. And you might be interested not in the absolute values, but in the relative values. Okay, this has applications in surveys. It has application in formulation design, and we have a paper on that. And we've also implemented this in association rules, which is used for text analytics. The other example is data integration. Okay, I used to run a little quiz, and maybe I'll try it here. How many of you know about ETL? ETL? This is, you see, 5 people. If this audience was people from information systems, or all their hands would be up. ETL is extract, transform, and load. And with the big data situation we're talking about, this is what statisticians do. They take data, they extract, they maybe transform it, they integrate it. So it's data integration, maybe called data fusion. And it's a whole domain. There are open source tools for doing that. For example, Pentaho is an open source tool. Statisticians should know about ETL. Okay, that's one of the list of the data science skills that I was referring to. So, in data integration, I've worked on a couple of topics. One is how do you take, for example, a survey that is done on a face-to-face basis. That's a survey done in airports. You know, someone approaches you and asks you to fill in a questionnaire, and surveys done on a website. Okay, when people answer you, they will tend to be less critical. Okay, and maybe exaggerate their satisfaction. On the web, on the other hand, people will be more critical. So can we fuse data from these two different sources talking about the same? This is the example from the San Francisco airport, so that we can control the bias in the media where the survey is run. And this is work with Luciana. Another project with a past student of mine, Anan Khalabi, who is here. He's the reliability manager for an international company called Kulik and Sofa, and he's concerned by how do you do reliability assessment and risk prediction during the development phase of a product. Okay, so this is based on assessments, you have field data, and how do you integrate these different data sources? Anan, this is fair, the description? Okay. And then you can also take a look at the full picture of the 8 dimensions in the context of the fourth industrial revolution. This is what we've done in this paper. And in the context of chemical engineering, what Marco calls CPI, chemical process industry, we've developed this approach where we can actually run the assessment of the 8 InfoQ dimensions directly from data, not just by evaluating it with some expert opinion judgment. And there is a book that is also on display, which covers this topic with applications. The cover actually is a story by itself. So what do you see? Some people see, some people don't see on the cover? 42. Okay, so the first step is to see 42. Okay, not everybody sees because of some impediment in vision, right? But that's what we have when we look at organizations. And then there's the other aspect, which is to really have the context for this 42. What is 42? Some people... The answer, right. How many of people knew about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Oh, okay, very good. You see? A lot of people know about that. So, trying to put some perspective, I'm positioning information quality in this evolution of quality. I think it would make sense to put it as the next step. Okay, we talked about product quality with specifications. We talked about process quality with Schuart. We talked about service quality. We talked about management quality with the Durand trilogy of design, improvement, and control. Then we talked about robustness and design quality. And in the information age, I think we should be talking about information quality. And there is lots to be done. Okay, it's not like this has been covered. So, especially in this Industry 4.0 environment where people deal with sensors and they collect a lot of numbers. Okay, then you have flexible manufacturing, 3D printing, lots of capabilities. Without the analytic engine, nothing will happen. And this analytic engine should generate information of quality. And that's where statisticians, I think, have a key role. So product quality and inspection was already in the act of creation. And there was creation and there was inspection. And Richard Arkwright, I took his picture. This is when we were in Sheffield, where he has his mill, and Schuart and Deming was mentioned several times, and Durand and Box, and we are getting close to Box, and Taguchi, and I think this is the age of information quality. So I'm encouraging contributions, and that's why I also got with Tom Redman, who was also an ex-Bell Labs staff. We started working on what we call the real work of data science. So I'm going to give you a highlight of 4 of the chapters from this book. The first one is what we call a higher calling. The higher calling means a life cycle view. You know, our interest is from the problem elicitation phase up to the impact assessment. Okay, and not just the data analysis. Okay, and I'm repeating what others have said. This is an expanded DMAIC, if you want, but the issue is the scope of your work. And this also has 8 steps. Okay, so we had 8 dimensions in InfoQ, and we have 8 steps in the life cycle view. So 8 is going to be a recurring dimension. And I presented this at the Hunter conference in 2014, and frankly, it didn't get the attention, and there was no real discussion after it. And I was really disappointed, I must say. But in JSM last month, we had a panel discussion on the life cycle view of statistics, which was very well attended, with lots of questions. Lots of people had to say something about that. Okay, and this included Laura Freeman, who is an ex-student of Jeff, who gave a fantastic set of comments, and Vijay Nair gave another set of fantastic comments, and John Peterson from JSK, and myself. And this, I was really pleased by that, because 10 minutes, okay. So the pictures are going to run fast. I have pictures next. Chapter 9 is called Take Accountability of Results. Okay. So here I'm referring to work done with Shirley Coleman and Dave Stewartson on what we call the statistical efficiency in a practical perspective, and that led us to identify 8 elements that we can use for impact assessment. That also has 8. And in that book that is forthcoming, we are talking about this maturity model that gets you from level 1 to level 5. I won't get into the details. The idea is that if you move up the organization, you gain in efficiencies and productivity. And I agree that the title of Deming's original work, Quality, Productivity, and the Competitive Position, was much better than Out of the Crisis. So that's what we are looking at. Okay, quality, productivity, and the competitive position. If the organization moves up this maturity ladder, it gains in these 3 dimensions. And with 21 case studies with Chris and Xavier and Anne, we've tested this, and we stated this as a conjecture. And basically, going up this ladder, this maturity ladder, in the 21 case studies we looked at, showed some improvement in PSC, and this is one of the outputs of the Pro-ENBIS project, and this book is available through Wiley. Statistical Practice in Business and Industry. And the epilogue is quoting Tukey, who had in 1962 a very famous paper called The Future of Data Analysis. He was sensing that we are entering this data-centric activity, and he was saying something is happening, it's not a recognized science yet, okay? And Jeff Wu in '97 called it data science. Some people have other, you have the American story, you have the Russian story, you have the French story on who was the first. But that's on record. And I think the future of data analysis is here now. And it's called data science. And we can say whatever we want, but that's how it's been recognized. So I have 5 minutes? Yes. Okay. So where have I been on this journey? Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick review just to show you the background of what has motivated me to do these different things I talked about. So I got a job because the CEO of a company, Tadiran Telecom, attended the Deming seminar, and I also attended the Deming seminar for statisticians called The Improved Practice of Statistics. This was in 87. And Deming recommended that organizations have a statistical leader, okay, director of statistical methods, okay, and that's the job I got. You know, this CEO attended Deming. Deming said, you know, for gaining in quality, productivity, and competitiveness, you need to have this guy. He didn't really know what this guy was going to do, but he was willing to hire him. Okay, so then you get to this question: how do I fulfill this role, right? So the maturity ladder I showed how to push the organization, and these 3 aspects with 8 elements. Okay, so assessing the quality of information generated, taking a life cycle view, and assessing the practical significance of the statistical work. This was my business card when I was at Tadiran. Do you notice something weird? Not many people know what this means. Then I was offered the position of full professor at SUNY Binghamton, and do you know what BitNet stands for? Okay, and then I said I don't want to be confined to what the university is forcing you to do, and I created this company, and then eventually I moved back partially in university positions, and I'm now in this national policy research. So our job is to push for industrial excellence, and it's quite interesting. So I've written 14 books. Yes, the InfoQ book is this one here. I've written basically co-edited 3 books. One is a 4-volume encyclopedia with Fred Foltin and Fabrizio Ruggeri, who inspired me in many ways. And last month we published this book, which we co-edited, called Analytic Methods in System and Software Testing, and there is a copy of it also there. And if you want to hear more about what I have to say, you can go to this interview, which was also done a month ago, where I'm expanding on the things that I talked about here. In that interview, Anne Miley from JUMP, she did some text analytics on my CV, and that's what she came up with, and that was interesting. So over the years, you know, this is Göteborg, this is Stu Hunter and Min Xi, and this was on the right the first seminar in the HTTP Industrial Engineering seminar series, right? Where is Murat? Right? You confirm that? Okay. So Murat is with the tie in the middle, right? We had in Antwerp, we had a session on the medicine legacy, and some of the people here are present. Naples was really fantastic, I must say. We had a great time there. And Tony Greenfield, I don't know I think this was also in Antwerp. So if we look at the list of people who got the box medal before me, I'm going to highlight 4 names. There's a pattern there, you see. So David Cox. Actually, I was president-elect at that time, and I was in charge of this. So there's a commonality here. And he taught Introduction to Statistics to undergraduates, first year. And I was one of them. That's what interested me that's what got me interested. I was interested in mathematics, and that's what pulled me to statistics. By the way, he's 94, and Peter, is Peter here? Peter Goose? No, but if you write, we had some discussion, and I wrote to him a month ago, and he answered, within a few hours. So the guy is 94 and still up on his toes. Okay, Tony was the first one to open my eyes into what communication really is about, and he's an agent provocateur, which means he's stirring the discussion. He enjoys it also. But I think he has had a tremendous impact on ENBIS through his perception of what needs to be done. David Steinberg, 2013, he was my teaching assistant at Tel Aviv University. I was teaching a course there. And then we were colleagues, and we've done a lot of things together. And Jeff, who I mentioned, who has this data science attribution, was in Naples, and it's really an honor to follow on their footsteps. And it's especially a big honor to follow on George Box. This is Halloween in Madison. So George Box was saying, it has to be fun, right? So I hope that's the ultimate message here. It has to be fun. And I think we've had a lot of fun in ENBIS through the years, with fantastic conferences in almost every country in Europe. And the last word is thank you. So I really appreciate the committee and the organization and everybody that stayed so long. Is the bus out? What? Oh, sorry. Oh my God. How did I miss that? Yes, there's an announcement. We have an announcement after my talk. So I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ron. And there is time for a couple of remarks and questions. Yes.
Thank you for the presentation and congratulations. Well,
I know you're from LinkedIn, right?
yes, and we sent some emails yesterday. We can talk later about that.
Just to make sure.
Well, it's Emilio from Castilla-La Mancha University in Spain. The question is, you mentioned that Industry 4.0 or industry nowadays can't look to Montgomery books or any other textbooks for the new challenges. And my question is about what do you think that what do you think about the role of standards for industry? Because industry uses standards, not textbooks, and I'd like to know your opinion about that. Thank you.
Yeah, where is Rainer? I hope he doesn't shoot me. I've been involved I'm on the standards committee of the Israeli Standards Institute, and I've been involved in developing these standards. Okay, so you have standards that are for certification, and then you have guides. Okay. So in the 80s, we translated ISO 9000. And we felt that we are on the eve of a revolution, because now we are actually addressing management issues, and we're providing a template for management that would help industry and services become more competitive and run better. Okay, so there was a big expectation. Okay, and And then this got to be also obviously certified, and now we have the people who do the certification. So now you meet the situation where the quality manager, he's the guy who is in charge of that. You have the audit, okay, tomorrow. He sits the whole night and he fakes numbers because he has to show that we have a system for tracking customer complaints. Now, after he's doing that, he's wasted. The organization knows that he is not worth anything. He's not going to be involved in anything serious anymore. So standards for certification, I think, have also produced some negative effects, and in a sense, maybe it's better not to have standards for certification. So that's my okay. But then you have the guides. Okay, so now the guides. Standards, as you know, this organization take years to mature, and what you see in the guides is many times 10 years old. You don't see the recent things, but still you can see some nice guides on risk management. GAM, I think, has been a nice contribution to organize the concepts and the methods. Okay, so I think there is value in that. The point is that these guides are not really used in educational activities. So if these, in general, of course. So if these guides were used by industry, okay, let's open the guide and learn something, maybe it would have been. So I'm a bit skeptical. It's not like I'm saying, I don't expect that this will bring but I'm talking about methods and and management guides. I'm not talking about the standards on technical things. I'm talking about the more general, which is what statisticians typically are dealing with. So risk management, acceptance sampling. Okay, so we have the 2859. The impact, from where I come from, not very strong. That's my biased opinion.
Just one more.
Thank you very much for your great presentation. My question is about one of the slides at the beginning of our presentation. There was a Google trend for data science. And if one takes comparison between term data science and, for example, statistics, statistical engineering, statistical process control, whatever you wrote, here we'll see that all inquiries about statistics have a decreasing tendency, highly decreasing. Data science are going up and all statistical are going down. So question is very simple. Do you think that quality information will be able to break this tendency? Thank you.
Yeah, JSM, the ASA president, gave a really inspiring talk on leading with statistics. Leading with statistics. Before her talk, they had these clips of interviews with mostly young people about how statistics is wonderful, and maybe 10 clips, short clips, okay? Maybe 10. All the people interviewed had their job title and the company where they're coming from, data scientist. There was not one statistician at ASA. So I think we have a situation where this topic that we are very much involved with is now of interest to many others, and I think we have to join the fun, you know, not close our doors. Whether statisticians, so I think information quality again is vaguely defined, and I think it opens up an opportunity for having an impact. It certainly grabs the attention. So when we talk about it, people start getting interested. And I think it opens the door, maybe not widely, but so I think there is a potential, but you know, I'm an optimist, so I cannot predict. No.
Okay, we have to close the session.